Welcome to Cozy with Chelsea. I am Chelsea, your host extraordinaire, and today we are going to be talking about Ina Garten, hence the denim jacket, and how to have an Ina Garten summer. Because, well, it's summer and I love Ina Garten. So that is the summer vibe that I'm going for this year. Not that I have a summer vibe every year, but it's what I'm going for this year. This was actually kind of inspired because I've seen like different summers, and I'm certain that this was a trend before like the hot girl summer Meg the Stallion situation. I don't even know when that was. Was that 2022? I don't know. Not sure. No, 2020, 2023, whatever. It doesn't matter. But this year I'm seeing like Nancy Meyers summer, which is kind of adjacent to an Ina Garten summer. I saw a Mary Oliver summer from somebody that I follow on Substack, and I thought that was a wonderful summer vibe. But I was thinking about myself and who I really want to channel this summer, and that would be Ina Garten. She is really like one of my favorite people. I think she's so fantastic. And I just read her book, Be Ready When the Luck Happens. So I'm a little bit inspired by that as well. But I've always loved Ina. I mean, who doesn't love Ina? She's just the best. So that is why I'm sporting a denim jacket today. Not that it's unusual for me to have a denim jacket. This is a well-worn jacket. I specifically like this jacket because it's not structured. It's more of like a shacket, if you will. And I got it from Reformation a few years ago. And I hope to Goddess that this jacket will last my entire life because it is perfect. So I wanted to talk about Ina Garten and having an Ina Garten summer and what that really means. So let's get into it. I wanted to start with kind of just like a brief history on Ina. For those who don't know, if you've read her most recent book, which I mentioned, Be Ready When the Luck Happens, she does go into her early life and, really her whole life. But in the beginning, it talks about her early life. And there was a lot I didn't know about her. And I found the whole thing really, really interesting because she always kind of has this like warm, comforting, cozy presence. But I did not realize that she grew up in a house that was not fun, according to her description, and had controlling and at times abusive parents. I just found that really, really interesting. I didn't know that, though it does make sense. Well, I guess it just makes sense when I relate it back to myself, but maybe not feeling safe all the time growing up and then kind of cultivating that. You can tell how important it is for her to have community in these, hosting dinner parties. And she even has quotes. You know what? I'll just include one right now because it kind of goes with what I'm saying. But she said, food is not about impressing people. It's about making them feel comfortable. And I loved that one because I think that's not true for everyone, but it's definitely true for Ina. And you can see that come through in her like cooking shows, in her books, in everything that she does, that she wants people to have a good time and be comfortable and enjoy themselves in a simple way. So I love her. But for some history on her, if you aren't aware, she was born in Brooklyn, but she was raised in Stamford, Connecticut. Like I said, she grew up in a strict, controlling house. And the way that she talks about her parents in the book, if you read it, you'll learn a little bit more there. But especially her father was very controlling and definitely, in my opinion, verbally abusive with her. And I think there was some other stuff too. So sad for little Ina. But she earned a degree in economics and an MBA, and she ended up working for the Office of Management and Budget. And she worked in DC, which she also talks about in her book. I don't think she liked it, which I can understand why. And I know Jeffrey worked there as well. So that's why they were in DC. And I'm not going to go into everything in the book because I don't want to be spoiler central. You can go ahead and pick up the book and read it, but I did want to at least touch on some highlights. But she worked in DC, didn't like it, and she ended up in the book she talks about how she bought Barefoot Contessa. It was kind of like a specialty grocery store in the Hamptons. And I didn't realize that it was a store before she bought it. Like in my head, Ina is Barefoot Contessa. So that was kind of interesting to me. That name was already there and she bought that business and then kind of ran with it. I thought that was interesting. People, thought she was crazy for doing that because she kind of spent all of her money on purchasing that store. And I know that her parents for sure would not have approved of that. Not that I know her parents, but based on her book. And I think it's just so cool that she ended up doing it and seeing how that worked out for her because she really grew it into an empire where it's not, obviously, it was not just the grocery store, but she had a TV show and cookbooks and product lines and all of this. And I find it very inspiring that she took the risk to purchase that grocery store-ish grocery. It's like a specialty food store, and then ended up becoming an uber success. So, in my opinion, Ina's badass. Okay, career highlights. I mean, I kind of touched on how she turned her store into an empire, but she had a lot of cookbooks as well. I actually have one if you're watching on YouTube or wherever I'm posting video, but this is one of the books. I love Ina Garten. This is just one of the cookbooks I have. And this one is Ina Garten Barefoot Contessa Parties! Exclamation point. It says ideas and recipes for easy parties that are really fun. I mean, look at her. She's just so cute. Ugh, I love her. But I like this cookbook. It's kind of interesting. I didn't really know what I was picking up when I bought it, but she has it separated out into types of parties. So this one, she has like Sunday breakfast. Yeah, so she has it. I think there's like a football one in here. I don't know. Tailgate party, football party, throw a touchdown party. Yeah. Wide receiver parties. I don't know. Just throwing out football terms that I know. But I like that book. I think it's very cute. And as well, maybe we don't all know, but as anyone who knows Ina knows, she likes simplicity when it comes to her cooking. So all of these are very achievable. They are not trying to be anything. They're just fresh, simple, and delicious. So, yeah, but she's had a bunch of cookbooks and obviously her show, Barefoot Contessa. If you've never seen it, you should check that out. I remember that being like on the TV all the time growing up. And that show ran from 2002 to 2021. And I don't know exactly how many Daytime Emmy Awards it won, but I know that it did win some. And she has a new show. I actually didn't even know that. She has a new show on HBO Max, which is called Be My Guest. So you know what I'll be doing right after I record this. And then anyone who knows Ina knows about Jeffrey. Jeffrey is her husband of many years, and she writes about him a lot in the book as well. And he just seems like a sweetheart. I mean, a human, but he seems very sweet and well-meaning and really believed in her and loved her. But they got married in 1968. She writes about how her parents were initially not into that idea, but eventually agreed to it and supported it, I suppose. And I also think it's interesting that they chose to remain child-free. I think she talks about how kind of her upbringing and her parents led her to make that decision, but they are a child-free couple. So those are just a few highlights on Ina Garten, but I wanted to get into that a little bit. But ultimately, I really want to talk about what an Ina Garten summer looks like and how to have one. So to me, the first thing that comes to mind is fresh ingredients because that is her whole thing is fresh ingredients, cooking simple fresh meals. So this summer, I actually have really been doing a great job of this, but using fresh produce. I've said in the past that I live in the desert, but I was just talking to my fiance's mom, and she was saying how she actually thinks we have better produce compared to where she lives. And she lives in Illinois, and I never thought about that, but she was saying how it gets shipped from California and it only takes whatever amount of hours. And I was like, interesting. I, I never thought about it that way. So maybe I should stop complaining about our produce. So, doing what I can where I am is what I'm trying to say. I am trying to use fresh produce and organic produce and cook my meals with that. So that's part of an Ina Garten summer. And if you have a local market or you have farmers markets where you can get some fresh produce, please do that. Please do that just so I can live vicariously through you. Okay? Thank you. I also think that having an Ina Garten summer means seasonal entertaining. So she is obviously somebody who likes to entertain and host and have dinner parties or Sunday brunches or whatever that is. So if you can somehow incorporate something like that, but make it seasonal, I think is so fun and cozy and comfy. And I'm going to do this myself. Next week, I'm having an Italian summer themed dinner party. What that means, I'm not entirely sure yet. I know that I want to play Italian summer music, and I know that I want to have some pasta, and my friend is making tiramisu, and my brother is making focaccia, and I have yet to determine what I'm going to make, but I do like being the salad girl or the veggie girl. So I think I'm going to kind of hone in and focus on that. Maybe a summer squash situation, or maybe some peaches, call me by your name vibes. That's in Italy, right? Yeah. Yeah. So something like that, some sort of like seasonal hosting situation. It's summer right now if you're listening to it right now, but whatever season you're in, incorporate that and host a dinner party. I'm making an actual invitation, so I'll put that in the video so you can see what that looks like. And I want to, in some way, make the gathering interesting, which will obviously be the food, but I'm trying to figure out what kind of decorations or crafty thing I want to do. I don't want to just like put Italian flags up. That is not the vibe I'm going for. I want it to feel like I'm actually in Italy in the summer, not like a Americanized version of Italy, if that makes any sense. So I'll figure it out. Oh, and if you have any ideas for me, I'm open to hearing them. So seasonal entertaining, and then I just have hosting like Ina would. So she is someone who keeps it simple and elegant at the same time, which I think is quite the art. It's hard to achieve that vibe. So if you can incorporate that somehow, and to me, simple but elegant is something that's not over the top yet tasteful. I actually just, for my bachelorette, had the perfect example, but we had an outdoor table that the house actually had such wonderful touches, but they had these like hand embroidered table linens and cute patterned napkins and perfect plates. It was just so perfect. It made me jealous. So if you can, maybe you can hand embroider something or go to your thrift store and pick something up. I get all of my vases for my flowers from thrift stores or antique stores, and I feel like that's the best place to do it. I have a lot of good ones. So my dinner party will certainly be featuring some table linens and some fresh flowers. And that's really all you need. Call it a day. I mean, what else do you need? God. Okay. And then these are some Ina ish rules. which is prep ahead, keep it simple, and don't forget a beautiful table. So we've already touched on that, but I think prep ahead is such an important piece of that puzzle because if you've ever hosted a dinner party and in the past I would have like this coursed meal planned out and I would have an appetizer and a meal and side dishes and dessert and custom, drinks and all of this stuff and my dinners took me like 4 hours to cook. And I would have people over just kind of like sitting around for hours because I did not prep ahead. So, an Ina Garten summer is prepping ahead. Do whatever you can before people get to your house. That is such an important lesson I've learned. Yeah. Prep ahead. What vegetables can I chop? Can I bread the chicken before I'm frying it? I don't know. I'm trying to think of what you could prep. Can I set the table, before people are here? Can I get the stuff out? Can I chop? Can I prep? Can I clean? What are the things that I can do that can be done ahead of time? So keep that in mind. And a beautiful table. A beautiful table, like I said, table linens, flowers. I like to put candles on there. I have some like long taper candles right now in a sterling silver holder, which is gorgina. There's a lot that you can do with the table. When I was thinking about Ina Garten, I was thinking of like three S's, which would be simple, slow, and sensual. I feel like that kind of describes her vibe and the kind of summer that I want to have. So I went over simple and just keeping it simple. And then slow is a piece of that. And when I say slow, I mean slow living. So you can really tell that that's kind of the way that she lives her life. At least that's my perception. And something that I've really been incorporating for a while into my own life and feel that there's always areas for improvement. And to me, slow living is really living an intentional, mindful life because I don't think it's like, I, I don't know how realistic. Hey, maybe it's realistic, but in my mind, the like fantasized, romanticized version of slow living is me with a white, flowy linen dress, walking at a turtle's pace through my garden and looking up into the sun and closing my eyes and letting its warmth bask me. That's, that is my fantasy of slow living. But I think in reality, I think that's a piece of it, right? I can get outside, I can put my face in the sun, but I think it's also just taking moments to myself and checking in and grounding and allowing myself to just simply be in the moment instead of thinking about every single thing I have to do or working on a million things at one time, which there's a time and place for, but to really just be mindful about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And does it feel good? That is my number one. That's my, what do you call it? I can't even think of the word. A detector. That's how I gauge my life is what I'm doing feeling good. I honestly think that's how your intuition speaks to you. If it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel good for a reason. Something's off, something's not right. And things can feel good and be stressful, right? I have a lot of creative pursuits right now, and I can be, I don't know if stressed is the right word because there are things I'm doing right now that are really exciting, but it's still a lot of energy output. However, I can do these things and I'm not like dead tired after. So that's how I know it's still feeling good is I have the energy to work on it. I want to work on it, and when I do it, I actually feel accomplished. Compared to other projects I've worked on in my life that feel like I'm dragging 4 horses through the mud. I know that that is not a phrase people use, but it's what I'm using right now. Because why would I be dragging 4 horses through the mud? Wouldn't they, if anything, be dragging me? But you get it. If I'm working on a project that doesn't feel good, that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm dragging. So anyways, my so anyways, what was I even saying? I think I was just saying slow living. I was saying how slow living is how I want to do my summer this year. And that can be still like I'm excited and I'm doing stuff, but I'm being mindful about it. I'm being intentional about what I'm doing. I'm stopping and taking breaks and checking in with myself and really just being intentional and connecting with my intuition, which it seems like is something Ina knows how to do because the whole book is like my parents didn't want me to do it. I did it anyways. Or people thought I was crazy to buy this specialty food store, and I did it anyways. So she must have, even if not consciously known she was doing it, really been able to connect with herself in that way and know what was best for her. So go Ina. Now, with slow living, she is also, I think, a quiet morning person. And for me, that's important is having a quiet morning. I like to wake up and have my morning routine, which I've talked about in the past. But really, I think this summer, kind of focusing on making sure that I'm getting outside first thing in the morning, which that could be a walk, that could be watering my plants in the backyard. It could be literally be just like going outside my front or back door and getting my face in the sun for a few minutes. So, how can you incorporate some Ina inspired slow living morning routines? I would love to know. So, quiet mornings and reading a lot and yeah. Oh my what about being barefoot? That's an Ina situation, right? She is quite literally the barefoot Contessa. Ina is the grounded Contessa. She she was barefoot before barefoot was cool. So if you can go outside barefoot, get some grounding in, that's an Ina summer. And then the third S that I had was sensual. And I think some people might have some preconceived notions of what that word means, but I do not mean it in that way. I mean it simply in the senses, right? Something sensual is something that impacts, connects with, affects your senses, something that is sensual. So, having a sensual summer, how can you indulge and connect with your senses? What are the things you can have in your surroundings that you're looking at that feel good and feel simple and feel intentional? And what are you hearing? What are you listening to? I think music is a huge way to have an Ina summer. I'm trying to think of what kind of music she would listen to. I should find that out. You know what? Let me look it up. Okay, there is actually a playlist for Ina's favorite love songs. So cute. She literally made this playlist. Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna have to link this or something. But there are a bunch of different love songs, and it's what you would imagine. Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, Otis Redding. There's a bunch more in there. But okay, I get it. I get the vibe. So maybe I will start listening to that playlist. I guess too with the senses, like seeing, surrounding yourself with beautiful things. But I wonder if you could incorporate maybe some movies or shows that feel like something that Ina would like. Okay. Her favorite films include Hitchcock thrillers. That is not what I expected. She has Dial M for Murder. She also likes musicals. That checks out. And she appreciates Nancy Meyers films. I mean, who does not like a Nancy Meyer film? I actually was just talking to my friend about this, but I'm like, we should have the whole summer just watch Nancy Meyers movies. And I just watched The Intern, which is like a more modern movie by her, and I did really like that one. I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but I ended up loving the like fatherly love coming from Robert De Niro. But I just love Nancy Meyers, like The Parent Trap. Something's Gotta Give, The Holiday. Ugh, The Holiday is so good. I only discovered The Holiday maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, and that was one of the favorites that moved into the rotation. It does make me want to find a friend in London and switch houses with them. Would be so great. But yeah, maybe incorporating some Nancy Meyers movies. That's very Ina. So we have seeing, hearing, tasting. Okay, that goes back to everything we've talked about with the food, having some fresh local produce, some summery fresh meals. Smells? What what kind of smells would Ina like? I've actually been trying to not have anything not natural. So I've been like avoiding perfume. And honestly, any candles, if I burn them for too long, give me a headache. So I think that's a bad sign. But I have been diffusing a lot of essential oils, and I would definitely recommend that. There's a specific essential oil called Thieves, and I think it's by Young Living, but I would highly recommend that one. I'm not sure, it's really not very summery. That's more of a fall or winter smell, but it smells good all the time. And if you want to bring in some of that cozy fall energy into your summer essential oils, then go for it. But you could do maybe something a little more fresh, like a lemon, lavender, peppermint combo. So maybe incorporating some of that as well. And then the last one, well, the last one of the traditional five, we won't get into the ones that extend beyond that, but we have touch. So for me, this is always like, if it's Ina inspired, it's we're touching and feeling things that are cozy and comfortable. So my mind immediately goes to warm, comfy clothing or linen sets, or maybe you can pull out your comfiest denim sweater. I guess sweater isn't the right word. Denim jacket, denim shacket. What can you pull out that is simple yet elegant? Those are all my sensual Ina tips. So simple, slow, sensual summer. I wanted to end this podcast with two quotes by Ina. There are so many to choose from when it comes to Ina, but I thought that these were really insightful and moving. So the first one that I have is this. So she says, there's a wonderful quote attributed to George Lucas. Now, this is George Lucas. We're all living in cages with the door wide open. End George Lucas quote. That was me until I realized I had the power and the responsibility to set myself free, to step out of the cage of whatever I'd experienced in the past, to think for myself and to believe in my choices. So I thought that was just so good. I can really heavily relate to that one because growing up, I often felt that way. I felt like I was in a cage. And I think really looking back on it, I was. There were a lot of things outside of my control. And as I got older, that feeling remained with me in my younger years. And I think as I've grown and healed from a lot, I realized that I started putting myself in my own cages, right? I think it was a familiar feeling. And I often felt like I didn't have any choices or the freedom to do something, when in fact you do. You really do have the freedom to live your life the way you want to, and you have the freedom to make whatever choices you want to make. So deep, Ina. And then the last quote I have for Ina is, stand up for yourself, even when it's hard, even when it means taking a risk, and in any endeavor, find just one person who really believes in you. I loved that one because, again, I can heavily relate to it. Again, when I was younger, that was something that was taken away from me or it wasn't really an option as a child. And as I got older, I realized that I can, in fact, stand up for myself. And it is hard. It is hard. So I love that she says, even if it's hard, even when it means taking a risk. I do stand up for myself now, and that's something that I'm proud of. And I do it even if my voice shakes and I sound weird or whatever. I still do it. I was really inspired by that one. And I love that she says, find just one person who really believes in you. Reflecting on that, I feel really lucky because I have a lot of people who believe in me. And I also feel like I found that one person that really believes in you. I would highly recommend finding someone who fully believes in you. And I have that. And I fully believe in him. So I found my Jeffrey. Okay. So that is how to live an Ina Garten summer. Let's have a slow, simple, sensual Ina Garten summer that feels good and is full of joy and love and warmth and fresh produce. All right, what's making me cozy this week? Well, I'd have to say that the denim jacket I'm wearing right now is making me cozy. It's also, it's July. Actually, today is July 4th. So I'm about to go later today over to my family's house and go swimming, which honestly doesn't really feel like the coziest activity because it's hot and I'll be swimming. But last weekend, I was in Ojai for my bachelorette, and that made me feel extremely cozy. It was the perfect bachelorette. It could not have been better. It was just great. My friend surprised me with a coursed menu. I have a friend right now who is going to culinary school, and she had a whole menu with an appetizer and the main, and she made a dessert. Let me pull up the menu actually. Yeah, she made a homemade beet salad. She made homemade focaccia. She had like a braised chicken and risotto as the main, and she made bananas Foster, like flambéed it at the end. So it was really impressive. And I really enjoyed that. And we just spent the weekend by the pool. We went into town, we did some shopping, and we went to a lavender farm and picked some fresh lavender and some flowers. And let me tell you, that lavender farm was filled with bees, which in the past, I've kind of had been kind of scared of bees, but as I get older, I realize a bee does not care about me at all. And at the lavender farm, the guy showing us how to pick it, he was just running his hand through the bush and the bees were doing nothing. That was also a way to overcome a fear. That's not really much of a fear anymore, anyways, that's what's making me cozy right now. Thank you for listening to another episode. And I will be linking my blog, my Instagram, my TikTok, my YouTube, my all the things in the show notes if you want to check me out there. If you can, rate and review the podcast. If you're on YouTube, if you could like and subscribe, that would be wonderful and would help me getting the word out about the podcast. I just want to say thank you guys, and I hope you have a cozy Ina Garten, simple, slow, sensual summer. Okay, I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.